Vietnam War was a significant conflict of the 20th century, lasting from 1955 to 1975. It pitted North Vietnam against South Vietnam and its ally, the United States. The war's roots lie in Vietnam's struggle for independence and Cold War tensions. Key events like the Tet Offensive shaped its course. The war profoundly affected American society, fueling the anti-war movement. This essay explores the historical backdrop, key events, and lasting impact of the Vietnam War. Vietnam's colonization began in the mid-19th century with French control. By 1887, Vietnam was part of French Indochina, leading to exploitation and harsh labor conditions. Nationalist sentiments grew, culminating in the formation of the Viet Minh in 1941. Led by Ho Chi Minh, the Viet Minh aimed for independence through armed struggle. After Japan's defeat in 1945, Ho Chi Minh declared Vietnam's independence. The French resisted, leading to the First Indochina War, ending with the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954. The Geneva Accords temporarily divided Vietnam, setting the stage for the Vietnam War. French colonial rule left a legacy of exploitation and resistance. The struggle for independence laid the groundwork for future conflict. The division of Vietnam drew global superpowers' attention during the Cold War. Ho Chi Minh, born Nguyen Sinh Cung in 1890, became a central figure in Vietnam's independence struggle. From a young age, he was deeply influenced by the colonial oppression his country faced under French rule. This early exposure to injustice ignited a lifelong passion for freedom and equality. He adopted the name Ho Chi Minh, meaning bringer of light, in 1941. This name symbolized his mission to illuminate the path to independence for his people. It was during this period that he began to emerge as a prominent leader, gaining the trust and admiration of many. Ho Chi Minh founded the Viet Minh in 1941, uniting communist and nationalist forces. This coalition was crucial in creating a unified front against the Japanese occupation during World War II and later against the French colonial forces. The Viet Minh became a symbol of resistance and hope for the Vietnamese people. His leadership and guerrilla warfare tactics were crucial in combating French forces. Ho Chi Minh's strategic acumen and ability to inspire his troops played a significant role in the eventual defeat of the French at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954, a turning point in Vietnam's fight for independence. The Geneva Accords of 1954 did not deter his resolve for reunification under communist rule. Despite the temporary division of Vietnam into North and South, Ho Chi Minh remained steadfast in his vision of a unified, independent Vietnam. He continued to work tirelessly to achieve this goal. Ho Chi Minh's vision continued to drive North Vietnam's efforts even after his death in 1969. His ideals and leadership principles were deeply ingrained in the North Vietnamese military and political strategies, guiding them through the tumultuous years of the Vietnam War. His legacy extends beyond military achievements, symbolizing resilience and determination. Ho Chi Minh's speeches and writings continue to inspire generations, emphasizing the importance of unity, perseverance, and the relentless pursuit of justice and freedom. Ho Chi Minh's leadership was central to the Vietnam War's development. His strategies and vision were instrumental in shaping the course of the conflict, influencing both military tactics and political maneuvers. His ability to adapt and respond to changing circumstances was a testament to his leadership. His ability to inspire and organize was key to the Viet Minh's success. Ho Chi Minh's charisma and dedication rallied countless individuals to the cause, fostering a sense of unity and purpose that was essential for the movement's endurance and eventual triumph. Ho Chi Minh's role in the Vietnam War cannot be overstated. His influence extended far beyond the battlefield, shaping the political landscape of Vietnam and leaving an indelible mark on the nation's history. His legacy as a leader, visionary, and symbol of resistance endures to this day. The Vietnam War must be understood within the broader context of the Cold War, a period marked by intense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. The US and Soviet Union vied for global influence, with Vietnam becoming a focal point in their struggle. This was a time when both superpowers sought to expand their ideological reach, with the US promoting democracy and capitalism, while the Soviet Union pushed for the spread of communism. The US saw communism as a significant threat to its way of life and global standing, leading to the development of the domino theory. This theory suggested that if one country fell to communism, neighboring countries would follow, creating a chain reaction that could spread across entire regions. This theory drove American involvement in Vietnam, as the US aimed to prevent the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. American leaders believed that by intervening in Vietnam, they could stop the domino effect and protect other nations in the region from falling under communist control. On the other side, the Soviet Union and China supported North Vietnam, viewing the conflict as a fight against Western imperialism. They provided military and financial aid to the North Vietnamese, strengthening their resolve and ability to fight against the South and its American allies. The Vietnam War thus became a proxy war, with the US backing South Vietnam and the Communist bloc supporting the North. This indirect confrontation allowed both superpowers to engage in conflict without direct military engagement, which could have led to a larger, potentially nuclear war. Cold War tensions heavily influenced the strategies and tactics employed in the Vietnam War. Both sides utilized advanced military technology and strategic planning, often testing new methods of warfare that would later be seen in other conflicts. The US aimed to contain communism through direct military intervention, and by supporting anti-communist regimes around the world. This policy of containment was a cornerstone of American foreign policy during the Cold War, reflecting the deep-seated fear of communist expansion. The North Vietnamese, under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh, relied on guerrilla warfare tactics and substantial support from their communist allies. These tactics proved effective against the more conventional military strategies employed by the US and South Vietnamese forces. The conflict in Vietnam symbolized the broader ideological struggle between communism and capitalism, a battle that was being fought on multiple fronts around the world. This ideological clash was not just about territory, but about the future direction of global governance and economic systems. The global significance of the Vietnam War added layers of complexity and intensity to the conflict. Protests erupted worldwide, and the war became a focal point of international news, influencing public opinion and political decisions far beyond the borders of Vietnam. Cold War tensions exacerbated the conflict, influencing its course and outcome. Diplomatic efforts were often overshadowed by the broader geopolitical struggle, making it difficult to achieve a peaceful resolution. The Vietnam War remains a stark reminder of how global rivalries can shape and escalate regional conflicts. American involvement in Vietnam began in the early 1950s, initially supporting the French. After the French defeated Dien Bien Phu, the US took a more active role in supporting South Vietnam. President Kennedy increased military advisors, and President Johnson escalated involvement after the Gulf of Tonkin incident. By 1965, American combat troops were deployed in large numbers. The US strategy focused on a war of attrition, leading to significant casualties and destruction. Public support waned due to high casualties, media coverage, and lack of progress. Protests and demonstrations reflected deep divisions within American society. The escalation transformed a regional conflict into a major international confrontation. The inability to achieve a decisive victory led to a re-evaluation of US policy. The eventual withdrawal of American troops marked a significant shift. The Tet Offensive, launched in January 1968, was a significant and dramatic escalation in the Vietnam War. It was a pivotal moment in the conflict, marking a coordinated series of surprise attacks on over 100 cities and towns across South Vietnam. The offensive was meticulously planned and executed by the North Vietnamese forces and the Viet Cong. The primary aim of the offensive was to spark a general uprising among the South Vietnamese population and deliver a decisive blow to the US and South Vietnamese military forces. The attackers hoped that this would lead to the collapse of the South Vietnamese government. Although the offensive did not achieve its strategic objectives, it had significant psychological and political impacts. The sheer scale and intensity of the attacks shocked both the American public and military leaders. The attacks contradicted official claims of imminent victory and exposed vulnerabilities in the US and South Vietnamese defenses. Despite the initial shock, American and South Vietnamese forces eventually repelled the offensive, inflicting heavy casualties on the attackers. The extensive media coverage of the Tet Offensive further eroded public support for the war in the United States. Graphic images and reports from the front lines brought the brutal realities of the conflict into American living rooms. The Tet Offensive marked a turning point in American perception of the war. Public confidence in the government's handling of the war declined sharply, leading to increased anti-war sentiment and protests across the country. Ultimately, the Tet Offensive reshaped the course of the Vietnam War. It contributed significantly to the decision to withdraw American troops, signaling a shift in US policy and strategy. The offensive underscored the complexity and challenges of the conflict, leaving a lasting impact on both Vietnam and the United States. The anti-war movement in the US was a powerful force during the Vietnam War. It encompassed students, civil rights activists, religious groups, and veterans. The Students for a Democratic Society, SDS, organized protests and marches. College campuses became hotbeds of anti-war activism. The civil rights movement intersected with the anti-war movement, linking the war to issues of racial and economic injustice. Veterans, through organizations like Vietnam, Veterans Against the War, VVAW, brought a unique perspective to the protests. The media played a significant role in amplifying the anti-war movement. Television coverage of protests and battlefield reports shifted public opinion. The anti-war movement contributed to the decision to withdraw American troops. The movement reflected widespread disillusionment with the war and broader social concerns. The Vietnam War is often referred to as the first television war due to extensive media coverage. Television brought the realities of the war into American homes, shaping public opinion. Iconic images like the execution of a Viet Cong prisoner shocked the public. Journalists like Walter Cronkite played key roles in shaping public opinion. Media coverage exposed incidents like the My Lai massacre, igniting outrage. The media informed the public about the war's realities and challenged government narratives. The extensive coverage contributed to a shift in public opinion. The media's role in the Vietnam War demonstrated its power in shaping perception and policy. The Vietnam War highlighted the media's influence in times of conflict. The media's impact on the Vietnam War was multifaceted and profound. The decision to withdraw American troops from Vietnam was complex and gradual. President Nixon implemented Vietnamization, transferring combat responsibilities to South Vietnamese forces. Vietnamization aimed to enable U.S. withdrawal without compromising South Vietnam's stability. The path to withdrawal involved negotiations and diplomatic efforts. The 1973 Paris Peace Accords called for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of American troops. The withdrawal was completed by March 1973, but fighting continued. The absence of U.S. military support weakened the South Vietnamese government. The Fall of Saigon in April 1975 marked the end of the Vietnam War. North Vietnamese forces captured Saigon, leading to the unification of Vietnam under communist rule. The withdrawal underscored the complexities and challenges of the Vietnam War. The Fall of Saigon on April 30, 1975, marked the end of the Vietnam War. The U.S. Embassy and key locations were evacuated amid chaos. The evacuation, known as Operation Frequent Wind, was one of the largest helicopter evacuations in history. The Fall of Saigon resulted in the unification of Vietnam under communist rule. The legacy of the Vietnam War continues to shape the country and its people to this day.